the Anatomy Trains in Training workshop, we are getting familiar with the four-dimensional movement. And four-dimensional movement is a movement strategy where nothing is neutral. So if we think about different movement strategies, neutral stability has been very, very common for us for 3 or 4 decades already. And we have been assessing that quite a lot, especially with the lifting movements. And neutral stability sits right on the other end of the spectrum of movement strategies. So neutral stability, trying to hold the neutral, four-dimensional movement, nothing is neutral. And our movement outside the training facilities is mostly using the principles of four-dimensional movement when we are doing repetitive and cyclic movements, just like walking, running, jumping, throwing, and so on. And that's due to the fact that we are trying to minimize the usage of the energy. We have developed for 4.5 million years for minimum energy principle. That has been crucial because we didn't have the calories available as much as we do have right now. So we needed to move with efficiency. And when we want to move with efficiency, then we want to maximize the usage of the elastic recoil from our system. Our connective tissue and fascial system can restore energy when it elongates. And we can use that restored rubber band-like energy when we are doing movements. But our focus lately in the past decades has been in development of muscles. Very much concentric muscle contraction, of course, eccentric, but trying to produce force and load and power through the muscle. And there's definitely nothing wrong with that. We want to develop also that. But on top of that, we need to add in the connective tissue and fascia and strengthening that and using the free of course the energy, elastic recoil, elastic energy from the connective tissue and fascia in our movement. So we need to learn movement patterns, how to use that in our sports, in our normal daily living. And in our fascial system and myofascial system, there's myofascial continuities which have evolved into our system because we have been moving in a certain way when we walk, run, jump, throw, and so on. Those structures has been loaded more than the others, and that's why they are more connected to one another than the other structures in our myofascial webbing. And in Anatomy Trains in Training, we are learning how to utilize, how to engage in details those myofascial continuities so that we can take advantage of the full power of the myofascial strength, the recoil in our myofascial continuities and our fascial system. So assessing four-dimensional movement pattern is critical because we need to have enough quality to avoid risk of an injury increase. Our system is a load distribution system, so it wants to disperse the load as widely as possible, as evenly as possible to the system. Because if we start to focus and concentrate load into a small area, the structures, tissues are more prone to break. That's why we need to learn how to disperse the load as evenly as possible. And at the same times, when we are dispersing the load as evenly as possible, we need to disperse and distribute the movement as evenly as possible to the system, which means that we are also elongating the system, elastically loading the system as evenly as possible from as many structures as possible to maximize the free energy from the connective tissue and fascia. So, same times we are building a movement patterns that are related to our normal day living and most of the sports. We are starting to prevent injuries, and that's crucial because if you want to develop your performance in the long run, you need to have health. If you lose the health, your ability and possibilities to develop maximum strength starts to decrease because you can't stress the system as you could when you were healthy, and you can't recover from that when you have lost the health. So from that route, it's also maximizing performance. But also due to the fact that when we are able to distribute the movement as even as possible to the system, we are not creating weak links into the system that will leak the energy or leak the power out from the global movements. For example, if you are bending backwards and your abdominals are stretched in relation more than the other structures, it means that your abdominals are further away from the resting length, which means that they have lost the most power compared to the other structures. So they are going to be the weak link. And at the same time, if you are extending too much compared to the other segments of your body, you are also concentrating and focusing the load into the low back, into a small area, which is then increasing risk of an injury. So when we are balancing the movement patterns, trying to find as much quality into them as possible, we are same times minimizing injury risk and also maximizing performance, possibility to maximal performance. That's what we are doing in the Anatom training, learning not new ways of move, but the different movement strategy that has been ingrained into us for millions of years. What we have forgotten, because we have been focusing a little bit too much into the development of muscle and individual muscles. We need to do that, but on top of that, we need to teach us and our clients how to move as efficiently and as healthy way in their normal day living and in most of the sports, minimizing risk of injuries and maximizing the performance.